The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Hello, welcome to Open, the one and only show that brings the best of the Bronx and the world to you. I'm Darren Jaime, and here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. First up in our legal corner with David Lesh, we continue with the Law A to Z series, and we're up to D, talking about discovery. He'll tell us exactly what that means. Then tonight, the Bronx Library Center hosts a reading of Edgar Allan Poe's works. We'll tell you what to expect. Plus, Trees New York tries to liven up the city by planting trees and involving everyone in the community. And we'll sit down with BronxNet's Youth Media Coordinator and hear about BronxNet's unique internship program. And then we'll also turn the cameras on the community and see how recent events around the borough have unfolded. So we encourage you to stick around because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And welcome, Bronxites, to another edition of Open. Today is Wednesday, October 3rd, 2012, and I'm your host, Darren Jaime. Now, Open is the show that's bringing you the inside scoop on all things local and all things best in worldwide news. We're live, and we want to remind you to give us a call at 718-960-7241. Or, as always, you can email us at open@bronxnet.org with any and all of your comments you might have on the show. We want to tell you, guess what? We are socially active. You can catch us on the social network. Find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com, Open BronxNet Television. And, of course, on Twitter at BronxNet TV. Or you can watch us straight from our website, of course, www.bronxnet.org. No reason not to be able to catch us. We'll kick things off today. Our legal corner continues with David Lesh's Law Series. It's an A to Z series. And, of course, we have him right here in the studio to discuss the next topic as we are up to the letter D. Yes, and that letter D is discovery, and we have discovered David Lesh is here.
D for David, D for Darren, D for discovery.
That's right. How you doing?
All right. Well, listen, why did I pick discovery when there are so many other legal topics that start with D for, let's say, damages? Well, I picked discovery because when my clients call me all the time, they say, well, what's going on with my case? And it's always 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing that I tell them. We're still doing discovery. And I just wanted the viewers to understand what that means. What does it mean when your attorney says we're doing discovery? Mm-hmm. Well, it's basically what discovery is. It's the looking at information prior to the case going to trial. You know, when you see these television programs and you see somebody in a courtroom and they start asking questions and different things, you seem to get the feeling that all this is just coming out for the first time in the middle of the trial and you're trying to get somebody to make a big mistake. That's not the way it works. Usually for at least a year and a half, discovery, things are given back and forth by both sides so that you're not surprised at the time of trial. So that's why we have discovery. Mm-hmm. And discovery can take the form of either written, it could be documents, discovery can be oral, it could be depositions. So when we say that a case is in the middle of discovery, it means that evidence is being acquired so that when the time comes and you're ready to go to trial and you're in front of the judge and you're in front of a jury, all those things that you've already acquired over the last year or 2 years are now ready to be put into evidence. And the only way you're going to get that is through the discovery process. I'll give you an example. And I'm really talking about civil discovery, not so much talking about the criminal area, right? I'm talking about civil law because that's basically what I do. When we're talking about the civil discovery, let's say you start a lawsuit, you have a summons complaint. You're bringing a lawsuit against somebody. Now, the other side, the insurance company, puts in an answer. Well, in that answer is a request for a bill of particulars. Particularize for me, Mr. Lesh. Tell me how your client got injured or the nature of the contract or whatever the issue is. Particularize it for me so I know what's going on. The date, the time, If your client was injured, let's say, give me all the medicals. I want to see the medicals. I want to know who your expert is. What's your expert going to say? So then we're not surprised at trial. I want to know all these things. I say, fine. I'll give you authorizations. I give you medical records, but I want things from you. I want to see what the contract that you have with your landlord. I want to see what the sidewalk looked like before. Maybe I'm suing the Board of Education. I want to see what's been going on in the classroom, accident reports, incident reports. I want these things as well.
What's the time frame with discovery when a person is looking to go to trial or something? How long does a lawyer have to deal with discovery?
Well, generally it's set by the court. The discovery schedule is set by the court. We file for what's called a preliminary conference, and at that conference the judge sets certain time limits. Mr. Lesh, you provide them X within the next 3 months. A landlord attorney, you provide Mr. Lesh with discovery 3 months from then. Then what we have, we're going to set up what's called depositions. Now, because everybody has their documents, let's have some oral testimony on that discovery itself. So they're going to depose my client. Well, my client's going to talk about all the different things that he or she couldn't do, talk about what his life was like. They're going to show him pictures that I provided to them in discovery. And now my client's going to look at the pictures and identify them. Depositions can last an hour, 2 hours. I've had depositions last days, okay, especially if it's a medical malpractice case. Now, I'm taking the deposition of the landlord or the teacher or the superintendent. And now I'm going to be showing them documents that were provided to me before the deposition occurred. I have a contract between a landlord and some type of landscaping company. Because say my client got injured on the premises, got injured because of snow and ice or an issue that way. I'm going to show them the contract, discovery that was already given to me. Give it to the landlord, give it to the contracting company, identify the document, look at it, authenticate it. Because once I go to trial, the only way I'm getting that document into evidence is if it's already been authenticated by the witness then. Because that witness may not be coming to court. So this is all in the discovery process.
How much does the judge play in the process of discovery?
Well, when we don't get along, or I'm not getting the discovery I want, or they're not getting the discovery from me, motions are made. Motions are discovery. A motion is you're moving the court for a request, for relief. And the landlord says, well, Mr. Lesh didn't give me this authorization or that authorization. I say I didn't give the authorization because it's not relevant. He didn't injure his knee. He injured his back. I don't want to give an authorization for his knee. I don't want to give his psychiatric records. We're not claiming an emotional injury. So we fight. And we go before the judge, and the judge says, no, Mr. Lesh, you got to give a psychiatric authorization. Or no, Mr. Lesh is right, you don't have to give it. Or I say, I want these pictures, Your Honor. I want the videotape from Dwayne Reed. The videotape that showed my client slipping and falling. Why am I not getting the videotape from Fanfare? I want the videotape. It's discovery. The judge says, you're right. Mr. Lesh gets that videotape. You got 30 days. And then I get the videotape. So this is all discovery. And it can take about a year, year and a half until finally all the discovery is done and it's time to put the case on the trial calendar. And we wait in line like a car getting up, you're waiting for gas. And you get behind the other cars until you're finally ready to get up to the pump and you're ready to get your gas. You could be 4 or 5 cars behind. That's what it is. You wait in your turn until you're finally ready for your trial. And by the way, just because you're on the trial calendar doesn't necessarily mean that discovery isn't done even then. Because, for instance, things come up. My client, she came in yesterday. This is true. She had a torn meniscus in the knee, but because of that, and the case is on the trial calendar, she's been favoring the other leg, and now she has issues with the ankle. Right. And the doctor is going to give me a report saying that she now has an ankle injury because of the favoritism to the other leg. So I have to exchange that report. I'm exchanging more discovery. Well, you can bet once I do that, they're going to want another physical. They're going to take a look at her other leg. They're going to want authorizations for the original records from the doctor. Again, discovery. Discovery, discovery, discovery. That's the key.
Up until the trial date.
Up until the trial date. I've seen discovery exchange in the middle of a trial. In the middle of a trial, all of a sudden a witness will say something, and I'll say, wait a second, Your Honor, I never got any document on this. Is this a mistrial? And the judge will say, well, it's not a mistrial, but I'll tell you what, Mr. Lesh, you get a deposition of him or of that. I'll have you do it tomorrow for 2 hours. I'll disband the jury for a couple of hours, and they'll come back in the afternoon. You'll have your discovery. So discovery is very, very important. It's a big legal issue. And when clients call and they say, what's going on with my case? What's going on with the case? It's still in discovery.
So sometimes you just have to be patient with the process.
Be patient.
with Discovery.
And next week we're starting with the letter E.
I was going to
I'll take any requests. Anybody? You want to give me a letter E that you want to discuss in the law?
Well, you send it to us. So
Election law? I don't know. Pick something.
Hey, we'll let you know. Come on, send us an email to open@bronxnet.org for what you want for the letter E. And of course, if you send it and David decides to choose it, we'll do it right here on the show.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about today's verdict.
Today's verdict, we had a great show last week on not-for-profits, how to form a not-for-profit. Baron Ambrosio was on the show talking about a not-for-profit that he was working on in Haiti. And just how to file. We had an attorney from the Lawyers Alliance teaching the public what documents you need, how to be in compliance with a 5103C. It's very important to understand how to become a not-for-profit, what that means. It was a great show, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback in the community, and of course online, a lot of hits, a lot of people watching the video. If you haven't seen it, you can double-click on the today's verdict part of the BronxNet website, and you can watch it. It's a great show. Very important.
One of the things I want to say, we have a few seconds left. I want to ask you the question about the Bronx court system. Are we seeing a real backlog these days, as considering the fact that we've seen a slowdown and some things reported slowdowns? How's things going?
I find that the Bronx has always been a favorite place to bring accidents, because any types of lawsuits, because the Bronx jurors are very giving. They've always come across as very compassionate. So if you can bring a lawsuit anywhere in the city, you're going to bring it in the Bronx. That's just the way it is, especially if you have injury or accident cases, medical malpractice cases. When you want a sympathetic jury, you come to the Bronx. It's just the nature, that's the way it is. Brooklyn has been very similar, but Brooklyn's been changing the demographics, whereas the Bronx has pretty much stayed fairly similar. It has been in the last couple of decades. So people still bring their actions in the Bronx. So, to get a trial, once you get it on the trial calendar, it's generally a year to a year and a half to get a trial, and that's a long time for people who are waiting for their day in court, especially if you bring an action against the city. That's against the Board of Education. That's against it could be any agency of the city. Could be the Transit Authority, MTA. It takes a long time. So people are asking me, well, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, look, the Bronx takes a long time. But the good news is once you're up there, you can expect to get a good result many times, because Bronx juries are very giving, and they're like you, because you're a Bronxite. I say to my client, you've been living here your whole life. That's why you're bringing the action here. They're like you. So anyway, it's a good place to be, and that's why, unfortunately, it's always backlogged.
All righty. Well, David Lesh, good to have you.
My pleasure.
All righty. Now, for more on David Lesh, don't forget to check out leshlaw.com or catch an all-new episode of Today's Verdict right here on BronxNet Channel 67, Tuesday night, 6:30. And when we return, we're going to hear from the Bronx Historical Society about a fun event happening tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got more open right after this.
I remember how much you said you liked mine.
Oh.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
This is so cool, Dad. Awesome. This is so cool, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
For you. Hey, Mom.
Girls, I used to cheer back in my day. Ready? Okay!
That was amazing. Mom, that was amazing.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
of many moves. I gotta go with. He is the author of many morose and mysterious stories, including tales like The Raven, The Pit and the Pendulum, and The Cask of the Amontillado. And tonight at the Bronx Library Center, they'll be celebrating his literary works written during his last years in the famous Poe Cottage with a reading and discussion. We have Angel Hernandez of the Bronx County Historical Society on set to tell us more about the man, Edgar Allan Poe, and the celebration or the commemoration of his actual death. And
thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Angel.
Thank you.
Got to be an exciting time as we remember Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, well, obviously it's close to Halloween. Edgar Allan Poe, his nature of writing was very spooky, very dark and macabre. But we are proud to have him as a Bronxite. He lived in the Bronx last years of his life, from 1846 to 1849. And the reason why he came to the Bronx was to save his wife from dying of tuberculosis. His young wife, Virginia. At the time, in 1846, the Bronx looked nothing like what we see today. It was pretty much farmland. Poe arrived to the small village of Fordham, and the farm was owned by a John Valentine, which we have a Valentine Avenue that runs right next to the Bronx Library Center where we're going to have the event tonight. So unfortunately, Edgar Allan Poe was poor throughout his adult life. But he managed to write one of the best works, many works, that are considered the best in American literature. So tonight we're going to celebrate. Well, it's not much of a celebration. We're going to remember him. Edgar Allan Poe passed away on October 7th, 1849. So we're going to remember him by having these readings at the Bronx Library Center. We're going to read The Cask of Amontillado, and hopefully we're going to have some volunteers to read other works that he completed in the cottage.
What do you hear about people who, look back at the work of Edgar Allan Poe? What are some of the sentiments that you guys hear?
Well, they always connect it to something dark. When I get a school group or any type of group that comes to the Poe Cottage, the first thing they ask is it haunted? Where the cottage is at today, that's not the original location. It was actually across the street on 192nd Street and the east part of Kingsbridge Road. So I like to joke, well, if there are any ghosts, they're across the street looking for the house. But people, once they hear about Poe's trife, what he went through in the Bronx, they feel more of a connection with the man himself and the nature of his writing as well.
When you talk about the work of Edgar Allan Poe, obviously people are pretty much intrigued by that kind of like haunted feel.
Right,
right. Give us, what are some of the major things that people want to hear about when they talk about Edgar Allan Poe?
They want to hear about death, misery, torture. And when they come to the cottage, it's so small, it's so gloomy, it's really quiet. They get that feeling of Poe. A lot of people throughout history wondered why he wrote like that. Poe was miserable throughout his adult life. He watched his young wife die of tuberculosis at the cottage. He was an adopted child. He had a very bad relationship with his foster father. So there was a lot going on with Poe. When he wrote The Raven, which is considered one of the best works in American literature, he only got paid $8 for it. So he lived very in poverty, and he struggled a lot throughout his life. So once people come to the cottage, they get that feeling of Poe. And around this time, close to Halloween, people like to connect Poe with the season, with the holiday itself. But as a historian with the Bronx County Historical Society, we like to focus more on the man himself. Why did he come to the Bronx? The Bronx wasn't even called the Bronx. It was part of Westchester County. So it was a different time, but Poe has a lot to do with us today. The Bronx is still considered one of the poorest districts, congressional districts in the nation. Poe was poor. People talk about, well, what else do we have in common? Well, hip-hop started in the Bronx. Where did that come from? Poetry. It came from young African Americans who were rapping about societal pressures and what was bothering them in the neighborhood. Poe wrote about the same things. He wrote about what was bothering him. So Poe has a lot to do with the Bronx, New York City, and the world at large.
Today there'll be a free reading at the Bronx Library Center. Give us a little bit more on that.
Well, our executive director, Gary Hermelin, Dr. Gary Hermelin, he's going to do a reading on the Cask of Amontillado. We're going to focus on the works that he completed at the cottage. And hopefully we're going to start this every year, remembering Poe on his death. And we also want to give ordinary Bronxites or people an opportunity to read Poe to the general public as well. It hasn't been done in a very long time. The Bronx County Historical Society used to do it years ago. So this is a tradition that we would like to start up again, just to remember the guy and talk about his contributions to American literature.
What do people not know about Edgar Allan Poe? We hear a lot, but you are the historian. What do we not know about Edgar Allan Poe that maybe the mainstream public should know?
Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston, but he had a southern accent. Okay, he was very soft-spoken, and there was a movie that came out last year with John Cusack, the Raven, and he was portrayed as this tall, handsome guy with a goatee. Poe was very short. He had a big head, so he wasn't attractive at all. And basically, he was very intelligent, but he never graduated from college. So there's a lot. It's a lot of mysteries with Poe, but it's so appropriate because he was the father of mystery writing. One other fact that people don't know: he married his cousin. Virginia was his first cousin. He married her when she was only 13 years old, but they loved each other very much, so much that the very reason why he moved her out here to save her from dying of tuberculosis.
Does it ever astound you, being the historian that you are, to look back and see a person such as Edgar Allan Poe, and you look at the fact that a person of meager means and how he's come through these meager means and tough times, and yet and still today is still regarded as one of the greatest authors of our time?
Edgar Allan Poe continues to be an inspiration. I remember Stephen King, a famous horror writer, and he would mention one of his inspiration was Poe. Robert Rodriguez. Edgar Allan Poe continues to inspire today. Not too long ago, I had a group, they were Gothic groups, and they come to the cottage just to read, just to know more about Poe and his dark nature. So Poe, he was very exceptional because he did write about stuff that other 19th century writers weren't really touching on. So Poe is remembered today for all those inspirations and to be that dark guy. So knowing about Poe and why he came to the Bronx was very important to us because the Bronx still attracts people to come to live the American dream and to fix their lives up as well. And this is what Poe came here for.
And for someone with such a dark background, yet and still very much the humanitarian. And when you talk about looking after family and looking after people, to see that this person that can do this dark work still can shine the light in major ways.
Absolutely. Poe is well, not too light because he was a very dark type of person. However, he wrote about other topics as well. Poe had a lot of jobs throughout New York City. He worked in different magazines, and one of the essays that he wrote at the cottage was The Philosophy of Furniture. And basically Poe would write about, he would describe what type of furniture you should have in your reading room to inspire you to be so creative. So Poe wrote about different topics, but when it came to stuff that came from his heart, that's what people remember him for. So people come. We have calls from ghost hunters that they want to do seances in the house, and they want to do all types of stuff. I remember a couple of years back on A&E, there was a show hosted by Linda Blair, and the narrator is talking about that Poe hid his wife's body under her bed for 2 years, and then until he died. All nonsense, all nonsense. We like to focus on Poe, the man himself, and his legacy.
Well, we thank you for giving us the good, hard facts and letting us know. And
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So once again, let's get that information out. If people want to take part, what do they do?
Today, it's going to be at the Bronx Library Center, which is at 310 East Kingsbridge Road. It's going to start at 6 o'clock. It's called Readings from the Mind of Edgar Allan Poe, remembering on him on his death, October 7th, 1849. It's going to be a free reading. We also have a lecture coming up at the Riverdale Library celebrating his birthday as well. So you can go onto our website, BronxHistoricalSociety.org, go into our events link, and you will see all the stuff that's coming up as well.
Angel Hernandez, good to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Angel Hernandez from the Bronx Historical Society. Well, we want you to stay with us because guess what? Coming up on the show, and well, first again, let us tell you this. The reading is happening again tonight at the Bronx Library Center at 6:30 p.m. For more information, be sure to check out www.BronxHistoricalSociety.org, and you can get all the information in regards to the reading and how you can get on the dark side. And we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back in a few seconds. We encourage you to stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
G-Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? Lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
I remember how much you said you liked mine.
Oh.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Did you find the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes. The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year, I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live United for Education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
This is so cool, Dad.
Awesome.
This is so cool, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Well, they are the crusaders of the city's greenery, and they're here to explain how you can help to be a part of an even greener New York City. We welcome now Lucian Reynolds, project manager of Trees New York, to the set. And good to have you, Lucian.
Thank you.
Thanks. So let's talk a little bit about this here. For somebody who's not familiar with Trees New York, give us some information.
So we're a not-for-profit that's based in Manhattan, but we work in all 5 boroughs, and our mission is tree stewardship. So a lot of organizations focus on planting trees. We want to maintain the trees so they grow to be mature trees, and they function to serve the city, the residents, and really is pieces of infrastructure for the city.
So when you look at the trees across New York City, of course, they're hundreds of thousands. Precisely. How many we're looking at? Do you know about?
You're looking at over 1 million trees.
I said hundreds of thousands. I thought I was downplaying. So you got millions of trees.
Sure. So out of all the trees in the city, we focus on the ones that are on the street. So street trees, part of the New York City's urban forest. There's probably around 600,000 street trees in New York City. So while they don't make up the bulk of the trees, they make up the trees that we see every day. So not every New Yorker has a park that they walk by. Not everyone can live at Central Park or live near Pelham Bay Park, but everyone hopefully walks by some trees on their way to work, to the subway, and that's our connection with the city's nature. So Trees New York focuses on those trees. We assist the Department of Parks and Recreation in maintaining those trees so they can continue to be mature and grow to full size and provide shade and all the other benefits that street trees give to urban New Yorkers.
So I look outside, I see a tree, and as I see, you guys will see a tree, and then after you see a tree, after you assess, what goes on from there?
Sure. So there's a couple of things that we do. We do lots of training. So a normal New Yorker will walk down the street and they see the tree, but a lot of times they say, well, that's a tree. Most people identify tree as having leaves. It's taller than a bush. And what we want to do is we want to kind of strengthen that connection. So a lot of times we'll start with, what kind of tree is it? So, even if it's simple, they don't have to know that it's a pin oak, but knowing the difference between an oak or a maple tree kind of helps deepen that connection. Secondly, there's lots of small things that New Yorkers can do to ensure the survival of a street tree. One is water. In the height of the summer, a street tree will need 20 gallons of water a week. And without that kind of watering, a lot of street trees die. And we see lots of dried up trees after they're planted in the street. And one of the big reasons is when they take them out of the nursery, most of the roots are cut off because they can't transport the roots of a 2-year-old tree. So the roots are cut off, they're planted, and there's a period of time where they're regrowing the roots and they're not able to take in the water that a mature tree would be able to take in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to stewards, that is the people who live in the block, in the neighborhood, in the borough, to make sure to water those trees so they can regrow their root systems, and then after that they have a much higher chance of survival. The other thing is the soil in the base of the bed.
Mm-hmm.
When people walk on top of it, it gets hard like concrete. It might as well be sidewalk. So we like to break that up so the water can actually infiltrate down to the roots. Now that is another connection, a way that trees serve the city, because trees capture stormwater. Mm-hmm. Stormwater, as we see in some streets that don't have good drainage, can really turn into ponds.
Right.
Well taken care of street trees will actually capture that stormwater and prevent it from going into the storm sewers or onto the streets themselves. So in that way, they're pieces of infrastructure for the city.
So you're actually helping in a major way when you do stuff like that.
Yeah, trees provide lots of benefits that kind of span past the environment, as the way we think of it. When we take care of street trees, we think of ourselves as environmentalists, as tree huggers, right? But it's really bigger than that. Trees are the only piece of infrastructure that actually appreciate with age. They don't depreciate. So as a tree becomes more mature, it gets bigger, it takes in more storm water, it provides more shade, it blocks sun from hitting your buildings, thus requiring you to pay for less cooling because your building's not heated up so much. Mm-hmm. They transpirate water, it cools down the air around you. So that's why when you're under a tree, it's way cooler than being out from the trees. Not just shade, it's the fact that they're actually spritzing the air full of water. Mm. So in a way, you're actually helping the city do other types of work, not just greening or purifying the air. It saves the rivers, because when water runs into the sewer, if it's a combined sewer, it combines with human sewage, and if there's too much, it all gets shot into the river. So we have more trees doing more work capturing the stormwater, that's less sewage that gets shot into the river, and there's cleaner rivers. Mm. So there's lots of kind of tangential benefits that come from taking care of the street trees, just past what we see as normal environmentalism. The last thing that we do is what we call Citizen Pruner Course. And that's an agreement we have with the Parks Department that we train normal New Yorkers to be pruners, and they become certified as a citizen pruner. They can actually prune the street trees on the street. Normally, if you cut a branch, there's a large fine to it.
Heavy fine.
Heavy fine. But the Parks Department trusts that we can properly train New Yorkers, and after a 12-hour course, they can actually go identify different branches of the tree that need to be pruned them off, and call if you're in a quarantine zone, and the Parks Department will pick up those branches.
You have public participation, a huge amount of public participation. Mac, you're asking for people to be a part of
Absolutely.
So what do people need to do in order to become a part?
Well, there's a couple things they can do. One is we have lots of stewardship events. So we'll post up on Facebook or on Twitter that we'll be in a certain neighborhood doing stewardship on street trees. So we'll probably be cultivating soil, planting flowers, putting mulch on the tree. And that's a way that everybody of all ages can get involved, kind of get dirty a little bit. You don't have to get too dirty, but get a little dirty and help a whole row of street trees. The other way, if you want to get a little bit more involved, is take the Citizen Pruner course. It's all volunteerism, and really we're only 6 people at Trees New York. And we just manage tons and tons of volunteers because there's a lot of demand to help take care of the city by normal New Yorkers.
So you can take an average person who knows nothing, the novice, and then actually turn them into somebody who can just really just do some things here.
It's something that everyone, their whole life, they observe trees, they see it, but it just takes a little bit of pointing out some of the particulars of the tree, and people really get it.
Mm-hmm.
Trees is something everyone thinks about, but it maybe subconsciously, not really in the front of their mind.
So you see a tree, and then sometimes you don't even recognize how much that goes in there, because you just definitely filled my head up with just capturing storm water and things of that nature.
Sure. Yeah, it's there's a lot to know, and I by no means know a lot of it. We actually have an arborist who is very, very good at what he does, and he is teaching me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So trees do more than just take up space. That's what we want to get the message out there
Absolutely.
too. So let people know that. So there are some initiatives out there that you could actually be a part of. You heard a little bit about Trees New York and how you could actually be a part of that process, learning how to really safeguard our environment and really do some things community-wide. Are we finding more people becoming involved?
Absolutely, and the newest way that we're kind of reaching out, and especially in the Bronx and a lot of the outer boroughs that have space for community gardens, is we're giving away fruit trees. So we want to establish, help the urban agriculture of the city kind of come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
So we're planting fruit trees in all 5 boroughs in public spaces. So all you have to do is go to our website, and there's a request form for Fruit Trees New York, and they put in a request for how many trees they want, and we'll take a look at their site, make some recommendations of different types of fruit trees they want. Could be apple, pear, pawpaw, crazy different types of fruits, and we'll bring the trees in. We'll plant them free of charge.
And after you plant a tree, how long before the tree matures and we see some fruit?
It really depends on the species. Some trees we plant have fruit hanging on them when they go in the ground. So it could be immediate to a couple years, but it just really depends on the type, the species, the site, how much sunlight it gets.
Right. So if you're in a community and you're part of that community board or you're part of that community, you can reach out and have the opportunity to have this done.
Absolutely. Schools, community gardens, churches, anything.
Okay. All right. So we want to get more information out there on Trees New York, and it can be found at their website at www.treesnewyork.com. And Lucian, tell us a little bit about this here. So if I just walked in off the street, how long does it take me to pretty much get acclimated and possibly be going out and doing some of the things that you're talking about?
Well, for a stewardship event, all you have to do is show up. We'll give you some gloves. We'll show you what to do with a cultivator, and you're good to go. If you want to kind of broaden your knowledge a little bit and get some of the more specific, I want to identify street trees, I want to become a pruner, you just go on our website, take a look at a schedule of our courses, and just sign up either online or actually preferably online, but you could also give us a call.
All right. Well, Lucian Reynolds, thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Sure.
And Trees New York, very interesting. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All righty. Well, guess what? We do want you to once again find out more information about Trees New York, and that website once again is www.treesnewyork.com. And we encourage you to stay with us, because when we come right back here on Open, we'll hear from BronxNet's Youth Media Coordinator. She'll be right with us right after this.
Be free. Nice, Dad. Nice, Dad. Nice. Dad.
Charles!
Nice, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one we'll start to see some change.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people. Connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
I remember how much you said you liked wine.
Oh.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live united for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
This is so cool, Dad. Awesome. This is so cool, Dad.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of siblings in foster care who'll take you just as you are.
Well, every semester, BronxNet offers students the opportunity to receive hands-on training in television production through our internship program. And here now to tell us more about the program is Youth Media Coordinator Marissa White, and we welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
She's no stranger here, and we've been doing this for a long time. But you sit in this seat, it's something totally different.
I know, it's very different being the guest. It's a little like, oh.
Yeah, but it's okay. So we have a wonderful internship program
Yes,
here at
thank
BronxNet, and you guys are doing a great job. Share with us a little bit about the intern process and what goes on as an intern here.
Okay, so we have a lot of, everybody that's behind the scenes here, they're either high school or college students, interns that receive credit for the internship that they're doing with us. Hands-on training, as you well know, camera, floor managing, directing, audio, any gamut of video production that we do, post-production, editing, graphics, writing, producing. All of our producers were interns here, the producers on the morning shows here. So it's a hands-on training that they're not going to get anyplace else, because you know this, we've been through this how many times, right? How do you get a job without experience? How do you get experience without a job? So the internship program is geared towards giving them that first bit of experience that they're going to need to get the entry-level job. They're not going to be doing camera someplace else starting out. So we give them that experience so that they can have something on the resume, so that when they start applying for these jobs, they have something to show an employer or a potential employer. So that's what we do.
So we have kids who come in and they're interns and they take part. What does it mean for them, obviously, to have that kind of experience? Because when you have that experience of being behind the scenes and really hands-on, that does something that you and I, we just didn't even have that opportunity coming up.
We did not have that opportunity. What's beautiful about this now is that it's happening earlier than it did with us. With us, it was college internship, and your college internship was your senior year of college, and that was it, and then you had to figure it out. We're getting high school kids now. So kids in high school have media, the high schools all have media programs, a lot of them. So not only are they getting the media programs in the high schools, we're in the high schools as well. We train inside the high schools, but the kids are coming here. So it's tremendous for them. It's behind the scenes, and it helps them figure out what they want to do and what they don't want to do. We've had kids, and you see it here, they'll come in first 3 weeks, they're not quite sure. 3 weeks later, you can't tell who's who, if they're a high school student, if they're a college student. It helps with their maturity, their growth process. We have kids, I've been told by high school teachers and principals that their kids' grades have come up, attendance has come up as a result of participating in our internship. That's tremendous. If we can reach a couple of students that are not doing so well, not sure where they are, they come in here, they see what the atmosphere is like, and we're all on the same page with that. We're all training them, every one of us, yourself included. This is what's expected, this is what we want from you. Professional job training that they're not getting anyplace else. So for me, to see high school students be successful in high school means that they're going to go to college.
Right.
They're going to go to college, and they're going to start figuring that out, and then they're going to move on to their careers. So what used to be career beginning in college, careers now beginning in high school. That's huge. That's tremendous. And it's
major.
happening in the Bronx.
And it's happening here in the Bronx, and we're doing a very good job, and we should toot our own horn. You know, you have Open 2.0.
Yep.
Nominated for an Emmy.
I know, thank you. Yes, that was the 2010 pilot episode was nominated. And the reason why that was so enormous was because it was Bronx high school students coming together for the first time, trying something new, a show by, for, and about teens. And to have the pilot episode nominated, recognized, you know what, yeah, we wanted to win. We were a little disappointed that we didn't. But as Marcelo Mendez said, who's our production manager, and Michael Nobby, the executive director, the nomination means that we did win. Like, we got recognized. They saw us. This is Bronx work. So right there is success.
You
right
want to capitalize on that too, because the people who come in the doors, they have the opportunity to work behind the scenes as an intern, but also they also have the opportunity to take part in various workshops. And,
yes.
I want you to share, because there's a couple of workshops that are coming down the pike, and
right.
you know, maybe we can get some people involved.
Every summer we run the Bronx Journalism Workshop. We do a winter version of it as well. We bring in an outside reporter. The last 2 years we've had Nicole Johnson from PIX and from Fox 5 who come in. They come in. It's a 6-week intensive workshop. This year people were crying. They had a lot of work. It was very intensive. They worked with a professional videographer. They worked with Marcelo Mendez this year and Nicole Johnson. We produced 20 packages in 6 weeks. Nicole got them from telling a story in 2 minutes to telling a story in 1 minute in 6 weeks' time. That's big. And it's all, like you said, it's all on-the-job training. Now we have coming up another workshop called the Peace Journalism Workshop. We're bringing in a professor from Park University in Missouri who does work with peace journalism. Peace journalism is reporting stories that are maybe, you know, he's done work in Uganda and Africa, so stories centered on violence, on rage, things that are happening in the world, unrest, and he's teaching journalists how to report those very same stories without inciting rage, without exacerbating violence, and bringing information in a peaceful, gentle way that's informative and not sensationalized. So he's coming to the Bronx to teach our students, our access producers, and we're going to also open it up to the Lehman College community so that we can use a little bit of peace journalism in our presentation of our stories. You know, there's a lot of ways to tell a story. How can we best tell the story? And that's what Steve Youngblood's going to do for us.
What do you think is the takeaway from people who've had the experience of being an intern here at Bronx? What are some of the takeaways, and what are some of the things that you're hearing people say after they've had it? Because, you know, internships are only for a season,
right?
And then someone moves on. So what are we hearing from those who moved on?
A lot of them don't want to move on. A lot of them do get jobs in the industry.
A lot try to stay here.
Yeah, a lot try to stay because they like it. It's hands-on, and it's the encouragement, it's the development. So the takeaway is that they're getting skills that they didn't know that they had. They're getting an opportunity to be creative and to do things that they didn't have the opportunity to do maybe in college or in high school. They're also getting jobs. We have people in the industry. We have 3 of them at ESPN doing SportsCenter. We have people at ABC. We have people at CNN. We have people at New York One, Fox. So the takeaway is that it's giving them something to springboard from. It's giving them that push and that extra training that they wouldn't get anyplace else. And also being surrounded by us. I think they enjoy being around our professional staff. They're getting different things from,
different people.
Different people. And they're finding their niche, what they like, what they do well, what they don't do well, where they should go, how they should apply themselves. And it's professional training. A lot of students, it's the first time they're in a professional environment. A lot of high school kids don't even have that first high school job. This is their first job. So we want to make sure that it's the most positive, influential experience that they can have. That's what our goal is, so that when they leave here, they have a solid foundation and they can take that someplace else. And a lot of them come back and bring back to us.
They absolutely do. Now, for people who want more information about being an intern, what do
they can contact me. It's marissa@bronxnet.org. Look at the website. My information is on www.bronxnet.org. We're on there. There's video on our internship program. There's video on the Bronx Journalism Workshop. And all the information is there. So just contact me. Internships open all year, so it doesn't even go by semester or season. If you come to me in February and you want to do an internship, we'll have one for you, no problem.
Now, what about the age limit? Any particular age limit right off the bat?
High school students, we do work with middle school kids, but that's special projects, so we'll have to talk to teachers about that. But generally, high school is fine. High school and up into college, we have some graduate kids. It's open.
All right. Well, Marissa White, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. Marissa is our youth media coordinator. We thank her so much for being here with us. As we said, you want more information about this, all you got to do is go to our website at www.bronxnet.org, and you can find out about how to be an intern and how to be a part of one of the best, if not the best, production team in the United States. I'd have to say so. That's right. All right. Well, we tell you, don't go anywhere, because guess what? When we return, we're going to take you out into the open when we return.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did. Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
And we are back here on Open, and there is more of the show to come. But remember, join in on our conversation. We do open up the phone lines at any given point throughout the course of the show. If you want to call in, our studio number is 718-960-7241. Also, you can send us an email at open@bronxnet.org, and you can follow us on Twitter as well as our Facebook page. Post something on our timeline, and of course, we'll be glad to see your comments and hear from you. Well, the East Bronx community, a location long underserved with public transportation, gets a glimpse at the Metro North's plans to add 4 stops in the area. Our very own Arlene Makoko was at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, where the first of 4 meetings was held.
It would be absolutely great to have Metro North in the neighborhood. Right now we have very poor access to the west side of Manhattan.
Vorleen Grauer from the Country Club Hills section news about the MTA's plan to bring 4 Metro North stops along the already existing Amtrak rails that run through the East Bronx is like a dream come true.
This is something that I've dreamed about and was waiting to happen for 40 years now. So the fact that it's becoming a reality is just a wonderful thing for the Bronx.
In cooperation with the Bronx Borough President's Office, the MTA is hosting meetings to look at the benefits and impact associated with providing rail service to Co-op City, Morris Park, Parkchester, and Hunts Point.
To take advantage of the existing infrastructure that exists, the Amtrak's Hellgate line splits off of our Metro North New Haven line in New Rochelle, comes through the East Bronx, over what's called the Hellgate Bridge, which is very close to the Triborough Bridge, if you've ever driven across that, goes through Astoria, Queens, and then comes into Penn Station.
With multiple construction projects underway, a new commuter line would provide thousands more access to and from the East Bronx.
And it would also diminish and reduce the amount of adverse environmental impact. And for me, it's a win-win situation for everyone because it would be the first major rail project in the Bronx in almost a century.
Among those projects are the new 911 call center and others located at the Hutchinson Metrotech Center.
We're just about to break ground on the new Marriott, the first Marriott hotel to be built in the Bronx, which is very exciting because it'll be directly across the street from this new train station here on Morris Park Avenue.
This has just put the icing on the cake that you can finally come into the Bronx, enjoy what we have to offer in the Bronx, like our botanical gardens and the zoo.
Great for business and students here at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, a facility accessible only by bus or car. Having a commuter rail line just blocks away would be a plus.
Things are not entirely fine. It's pretty difficult to get into Manhattan right now. Moreover, I went to school in Manhattan, my undergraduate university in Manhattan. It's very difficult for people to come visit us out here in Morris Park.
Montefiore Medical Center also has a nearby facility.
It's about having access to the community that has been known for quality of care for patients throughout the Bronx and the entire borough.
The MTA study is expected to take 1 year and has to work in conjunction with a separate study on the future rail operations in Penn Station with its operating agencies, which will be Metro North, the Long Island Railroad, Amtrak, and New Jersey Transit, all agencies that would have to be on board. Overwhelming support here in Morris Park. There will be 3 additional meetings, one in Hunts Point, Parkchester, and Co-op City, each neighborhoods where these proposed stops will be. For more information, you can go to www.mta.info. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
And thank you again, Arlene. And our BronxNet cameras were out and about again. Sylvia Anglin was at the 3rd back-to-school event at PS 87, where they gave away school supplies and made sure the young students were all set for their first day back.
School is in session, and at PS 87 here in the Bronx, kids and adults came out for the 3rd annual back-to-school fair.
We have the 2012 back-to-school event for the kids where we give away bikes, scooters, school supplies, and a fun living environment for the kids and the parents, and just bring a sense of community.
Kevin Lawrence is an alumni of this school. When I first became principal, he came and visited the school, and he shared with me his vision as a community person, and we decided that we would collaborate and work together to make good use. The park had just been constructed, and we wanted to make sure that it stays a community park, a park and a place where children and families can come and feel safe. We have our kindergarten parents who are brand new to our school, so it is a welcome to them. It's a celebration of our school community, but our school community is also the community at large.
I love this because I was very apprehensive about the school. I didn't know nobody, and I got the invitation to come here today, which I thought it was fantastic. So my daughter was able to get to meet new classmates. She already ran into one of her friends. I get to meet a couple of parents, and it gives me ease that I get to meet the parents, the principals, and I see the community that they have here. So this is great to me. This is the first time I'm here, and I love it.
To me, it's all about balancing out, these kids' lives, bringing their culture out, kids having a good time. A lot of times they're sitting in front of video games, they're sitting in front of the TV. This kind of gets them out to kind of hang out with their neighbors. It gets the parents out to hang out with their neighbors. And I think that's what we have to do in 2012 and 2013.
We're going to be doing it for the 4th year. We're going to be doing a bigger and much grander event as we continue to grow this out on TV, radio, and so forth. And we're going to be taking it to different communities throughout New York City.
At the 3rd annual back-to-school fair, kids, parents, administrators, and even teachers came out to celebrate the start of the 2012 school year, engaging in fun games and, of course, free back-to-school supplies. Reporting from the Wakefield section of the Bronx, this is Sylvia Anglin for BronxNet.
All righty, thank you, Sylvia.